This video describes the open high-low close candlestick plot statlet that's been added to Statgraphics Centurion version 17. The open high-low close candlestick plot plots security prices versus time. It includes the opening price, the low and high price during each trading session, and the closing price. It also includes smooth values using either a moving average or an exponentially weighted moving average, and trading bands based either on a percentage of the smooth values or on Bollinger's method. Volume may also be plotted along the base of the chart. As an example, let's plot the data for Facebook common stock since its IPO on March 18, 2012. We'll first retrieve the data from yahoofinance.com. We'll then read it into Statgraphics. We'll plot it using the open high-low close candlestick statlet, and then we'll set alerts to notify us when there's a large change in the stock price or when the closing price gets near one of the trading bands. I've loaded my web browser and gone to finance.yahoo.com. On the left-hand side, there's a field where I can type the symbol for any company. It's FB for Facebook, and press Go. This will give me a page with current information about Facebook common stock. There's a link near the upper left labeled Historical Prices, where I can get the prices going back into the past. By default, it gives me daily prices beginning in May 18, 2012, which is what I want. As you can see, it generates a table for each day with the opening price, the high price, the low price, the closing price, this volume, and the adjusted close. To save this data so that I can read it into Statgraphics, I'll go to the bottom of the page and click the link that says Download to Spreadsheet. I'll tell it I'd like to save this data as, and type in the name FB. This will save the stock price data in a comma-delimited file named fb.csv. Here I've loaded Statgraphics Centurion version 17. To read the stock price data, I'll go to File, Open, Open Data Source, External Data File. This will give me a list of various types of files that can be imported. Ours is a CSV file, so I'll make that selection. I'll then push the Browse button, select FB, which is the file in which I've saved the Facebook data. Make sure it's set to comma, and then press OK to read the data into the data sheet. To create the plot I want, I'll select Statlets from the top menu, and then Open High-Low Close Candlestick Plot. A data input dialog box will come up. The opening values are in a column called Open. High values are in High, low values are in Low, closing values are in Close, and the trading volumes are in Volume. The time indices field will be filled with date, and I'll press OK to generate the plot. You can see that immediately after the IPO, the price of Facebook stock fell fairly dramatically to around $20 a share. It's steadily climbed since then and now sits in the vicinity of $75. To see the data in more detail, I'll go up to the Analysis toolbar and press the Expand X button. This will enlarge the x-axis, making individual daily data more visible. I'll pan the graph until the most recent data comes on the chart. I'll do the same thing with the y-axis. I'll expand it so I can see the prices more closely, and then pan a little until the data are well situated. It will probably help to rescale the axes too. So I'll press the right mouse button, go to Graphics Options, and select X-axis. The X-axis is currently scaled by 1 year. I'm going to change that and make that 3 months. When I push Apply, you'll see more tick marks appear along the X-axis. On the Y-axis, the current scaling is from 0 to 100 by 20. I think I'll change that and make it 0 to 100 by 10. Now I've got a better chart to look at. If I like the scaling, I'll push the right mouse button and go back to Graphics Options again. I'll go to the X-axis tab and select the radio button to hold the axis scaling constant. I'll do the same thing with the Y-axis and press OK. This way, if I make changes to the data or other elements of the graph, nothing will change. Let's take a moment and look at some of the important features of the chart. On any particular day, a candlestick is drawn. The candlestick will be green if the price went up that day, or red if the price went down. The candlestick consists of a rectangular region extending from the opening price to the closing price, and lines extending from the rectangle to the high and low prices. If you don't want to see candlesticks, you can go up to the Statlet toolbar and select Clothesline instead, in which case a line will be drawn connecting the closing prices on each day. I tend to prefer the candlesticks. Also included on the chart is a smooth line, the blue line going through the middle of the candlesticks, may be based on either a moving average or an EWMA. The moving average smoother averages the most recent S closing prices, where S is called the span of the moving average. The exponentially weighted moving average, or EWMA, averages all past closing prices, giving more weight to the recent past than to the far past. The user may select a smoothing parameter alpha to control how much weight is given to the distant past compared to the recent past. A small alpha gives more weight to the distant past than does a large alpha. The default smoother used in the open high-low close plot is a moving average with a span of 20. I can decrease the span or increase the span, which affects how closely it tracks the individual daily prices. I can also choose an EWMA, and I've always liked an EWMA with an alpha of about 0.2. That seems to track the daily prices quite well. Also included on the plot, on either side of the smooth values, are trading bands. There are two ways to locate the trading bands. The first method is to use the fixed percentage of the smooth value. Using that method, the bands are plotted at the smooth daily values plus and minus a fixed percentage. The second method for locating trading bands is to use Bollinger's method. Bollinger bands are bands located at plus and minus a multiple of sigma sub n, where sigma sub n is the root mean square of the difference between the closing prices and the smooth values. If the closing prices match the smooth values reasonably closely, then the bands are tight. As the differences between the closing prices and the smooth values increase, the Bollinger Bands become wider. By default, Statgraphics plots Bollinger Bands using a sigma multiple of 2. You can adjust that sigma multiple to make the bands wider, for example by increasing them to 3 sigma, although 2 sigma is a common value to use. In talking about his bands, Bollinger suggested 2 statistics that could be calculated and used as buy-sell indicators. The first statistic he called the bandwidth, which is the distance between the upper trading band and the lower trading band divided by the smooth value. I've rewritten it here as 2k sigma sub n divided by the smooth value so that you can see that the bandwidth is similar to a coefficient of variation. The larger sigma is, the larger the bandwidth. The second statistic Bollinger called %B. It's the difference between the closing price and the lower trading band divided by the difference between the upper trading band and the lower trading band. %B basically shows you where the closing price is with respect to the bands. If it's 0, the closing price is at the lower trading band. If it's 1, the closing price is at the upper trading band. You'll notice along the right margin the prices for a particular day, the value of the smoother and the trading bands, and the statistics %B and bandwidth. The location at which those statistics are given is controlled by the crosshair location on the analysis toolbar. I can use the slider to move the crosshair through the plot and get statistics for different days. You'll notice one additional checkbox on the Statlit toolbar that gives you the option to show alerts. Alerts are defined based upon the prices, the smooth, and the statistics %B and BW. If I'd like alerts to be generated, I can go to the top menu and select Tools, Statfolio Alerts. In the case of the open, high, low, close Statlit, alerts can be generated if %B gets too small or too large, if the bandwidth goes below or above a particular value. We can also generate alerts if the closing prices increase or decrease by more than a certain amount or a certain percentage. And finally, we can generate alerts if the difference between the high and low value in any particular day is large. Alerts are used when I automate the process of downloading a set of data and analyzing it every day. In that case, the General tab would be used to save the alerts and notify me when they occurred. If I push the Browse button, I could start by defining an alarm file. I think I'll call the alarm file FB Alerts. I can then tell it every day when it analyzes the data if one of those rules that I selected has been violated to send an email. In fact, I think I'll send an email from Neil at statgraphics.com to myself, Neil at statgraphics.com. Every day when the data was downloaded, the Statfolio was run, the open, high, low, close plot would compute the new statistics based on the most recent daily data, and if it violated one of those rules, send me an email notifying me of that fact. I could then decide if I should buy or sell Facebook stock based upon those statistics. The open high-low close plot is a useful way to plot security prices. It helps you visualize what's happened in the past and provides information that could be useful in making decisions.